Have you ever made everyone's day, only to realize you left yourself behind? The sky over Portland was a heavy slate gray, thin mist clinging to the quiet streets as dawn crept over the rooftops. Inside the Whitlock family kitchen, the world was already awake, alive with the shuffle of slippers, the clatter of pans, and the soft thud of a fridge door closing. Lena Whitlock moved through the space like a conductor before an orchestra, her motions brisk yet careful, her eyes darting from the coffee pot to the stove, from the pile of school forms to her son's mismatched socks. The kitchen glowed softly under the pendant lights, a warm contrast to the cold blue morning pressing against the windows. She glanced at her phone, 6:32 a.m. On the lock screen, a bright notification flashed. Happy birthday, Lena. She tapped the screen off, lips curving in a reflexive smile that faded just as quickly. The reminder joined a dozen others, messages from old friends, a digital greeting from her mother in Idaho, a calendar alert she'd set herself weeks ago. All muted, all quieted with a practiced finger swipe. The sizzle of eggs in the pan drew her back. Eric, her 8-year-old, patted in, hair wild, eyes still sticky with sleep. Mom, can I have chocolate chips in my pancakes? He asked, his voice hopeful. Just a few, kiddo, Lena replied, reaching for the bag in the pantry. She measured them out, the familiar scent of cocoa filling the air as she sprinkled them over his plate. Eat up, or we'll be late for the bus. Eric grinned, already distracted by a rumpled comic book at the table. From the stairwell came the sound of Maya's hurried footsteps. At 12, she had mastered the art of multitasking. One hand texting friends, the other clutching a science fair project made of cardboard and aluminum foil. Her brow furrowed as she balanced the model carefully, her backpack slung over one shoulder. Mom, did you sign my permission slip for the field trip? Maya asked, barely looking up. Lena wiped her hands on a towel and found the slip on the kitchen counter, already signed and paper-clipped to a check. She handed it over with a gentle pat on Maya's shoulder. Thanks. And did you see my lucky pencil? In your art bin, I think. I'll grab it, Lena said, moving towards the living room, scanning surfaces as she went. As she ducked into the hallway, her phone buzzed again. Aunt Dolores. Lena's eyes flickered with worry. Aunt Dolores rarely called this early unless something was wrong. She answered, tucking the phone between her ear and shoulder as she rifled through Maya's art supplies. Morning, Aunt Dolores. Lena, dear, I hate to bother you, but I need a ride to Dr. Nelson's. My knee's acting up again, and the taxi service is running late, the older woman said, her voice tinged with frustration. Lena found the pencil, her fingers brushing over the familiar yellow paint. Of course, Aunt Dolores. What time's your appointment? 10:30. And if you don't mind, could we stop at the pharmacy after? The doctor wants me to pick up a new prescription. Lena glanced at the kitchen clock, mentally rearranging her morning. We'll make it work. I'll be there by 10. She hung up, slid Maya's pencil into her daughter's bag, and returned to the kitchen just as Jonas entered, adjusting his tie, brown hair still damp from his shower. He kissed Lena on the cheek, his phone already pressed to his ear. Morning, love. Did you see the email from my boss? They moved the conference call to noon. I might need you to drop off those documents at my office before lunch, if you can swing it. Lena nodded, already mapping out the route in her head. Drop Eric at school, take Aunt Dolores to the doctor, swing by Jonas's office, pharmacy, groceries, and home again. Jonas disappeared into the hallway, his voice trailing as he negotiated deadlines with his team. For a fleeting moment, Lena's gaze drifted to the far end of the counter. There, partly hidden behind a stack of cookbooks, sat a small white bakery box. She'd picked up the cake yesterday, a simple vanilla with lemon buttercream, her favorite. She'd even chosen the script on top, Happy birthday, Lena, though now the words felt oddly distant, as if addressed to someone else entirely. The kitchen was now fully awake, Maya racing to finish breakfast, Eric noisily slurping milk, Jonas searching for his car keys. Lena was the axis, quietly holding the center, adjusting to everyone's needs with practiced ease. She poured herself a cup of coffee, the steam curling into her face, and took a slow sip. The warmth was comforting, grounding. Out the window, the mist had thickened, shrouding the backyard in a soft silver haze. The world felt muffled, as if holding its breath. Her phone buzzed again. Group text. Happy birthday, Lena. Hope your day is as special as you are. She smiled, thumb hovering over the reply button. Instead, she silenced her phone, tucking it into her pocket as Eric called out, Mom, I can't find my shoes. She set down her mug, already moving to help. The birthday messages, the cake, even her own quiet hope to slip away later for a coffee at her favorite bakery, all faded behind the day's demands. By 8, Lena had shepherded both kids into their coats and out the door, the kitchen now a tableau of half-eaten toast and empty juice glasses. The rain had started, a fine drizzle painting the sidewalks as the school bus pulled up. Eric waved from the window, Maya already lost in conversation with a friend. Back inside, Lena gathered Maya's forgotten water bottle and straightened the living room, her attention flitting from one task to the next. She paused by the fridge, her reflection faint in the steel surface. For a moment, she pressed her palm to the cool metal, searching her own eyes. She could faintly hear Jonas in his home office, the rumble of Aunt Dolores's voice on voicemail, the quiet ticking of the wall clock. Her mind whirred with lists, errands, appointments, reminders, her own name, her own celebration, barely registered. She made a mental note to pick up candles at the store, though she doubted there would be time to light them. The morning passed in a blur of driving, waiting rooms, and polite small talk. Aunt Dolores, bundled in a floral scarf, recounted stories from her youth as Lena navigated traffic. At the pharmacy, Lena asked about the best over-the-counter pain relief, listening patiently as the pharmacist explained the option. She helped Dolores into the car, holding the door open against the drizzle. "You're a blessing, Lena," Aunt Dolores said, patting her hand. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Lena smiled, her eyes gentle. "You do just fine, but I'm glad to help." By noon, Lena was back at Jonas's office, handing over the documents and sharing a brief, distracted hug as Jonas scrolled through his email. "Thanks, honey. I'll be home by 6. Love you." She watched him hurry away, his mind already elsewhere. Driving home, the clouds pressed lower, the city softened by rain. Lena's thoughts wandered to the cake in the kitchen, the messages piling up on her phone. She wondered, not for the first time, what it would feel like to let the world wait for her, just for one day. She pulled into the driveway, the house standing silent and still against the gray afternoon. Inside, she set the groceries on the counter and checked her phone. 3 missed calls, a handful of texts, another calendar alert for a birthday lunch she'd scheduled for herself last week. She dismissed it, heart sinking a little. In the living room, Lena paused to straighten a photo on the wall. Her, Jonas, Maya, and Eric on a beach last summer, all sunburned smiles and wind-tangled hair. She touched the glass, remembering the laughter, the sand between her toes. The memory felt distant, like something glimpsed through fog. The kitchen clock chimed 3. Lena moved to start dinner prep, slicing vegetables, marinating chicken, checking the recipe for Eric's bake sale tomorrow. The radio played quietly, local news blending into soft jazz. Outside, the rain continued, steady and soothing. Jonas texted, "Running late at work. Can you pick up Maya from soccer?" Lena replied, "Of course," and grabbed her keys once more. The afternoon slipped away in errands and pickups, the rhythm of daily life swallowing any trace of celebration. Each time Lena's phone buzzed with another birthday wish, she silenced it, telling herself she'd reply later when things were quieter. Back home, Maya dumped her muddy cleats by the door and started on homework. Eric built a Lego fortress in the living room. Jonas arrived, tired, tie askew, but managed a quick kiss on Lena's cheek before taking a call in the den. Aunt Dolores phoned to say thank you again, her gratitude genuine but heavy. Dinner was a chorus of clinking forks and overlapping stories, Eric describing his science project, Maya sharing drama from school, Jonas recapping a tricky client meeting. Lena listened, nodding, asking questions, filling glasses, clearing plates. Her own thoughts, her own day, remained unspoken, tucked away with the uneaten cake in its white box. After dinner, as she loaded the dishwasher, Lena stole a glance at the clock. Almost 8. The house was winding down, the rain now a soft percussion on the roof. She stood at the counter, hands wrapped around a mug of herbal tea, looking out at the darkened backyard. The kitchen lights cast a gentle glow, illuminating the small cake box on the far counter. She thought about lighting a candle, about making a wish, but the moment passed. She returned the cake to the fridge, the door closing with a quiet click. In the living room, Jonas and the kids watched a sitcom, laughter spilling into the hallway. Lena sat on the edge of the sofa, smiling, her heart full but somehow distant. The day faded into night, Lena's birthday slipping quietly by, unnoticed by everyone but herself. And as she tucked Eric into bed, smoothed Maya's hair, and turned out the kitchen lights, Lena wondered, how many times had she let her own happiness wait, just to make sure everyone else was taken care of? The answer, she knew, was too many to count. Lena wiped her hands on a towel and exhaled quietly as the clock on the microwave blinked 7:46 a.m. The kitchen was scattered with the debris of breakfast, cereal bowls, juice glasses, and the sticky residue of strawberry jam at the edge of the counter. In the next room, Eric's laughter, bright and uncontainable, mingled with the tinny sound of Maya's phone alarm. Lena glanced at her own phone. Another birthday reminder. This one from an old friend she hadn't seen in years. Happy birthday, Lena. Hope you're celebrated today. With a practiced flick, Lena silenced the notification and tucked the phone away. She set out a brown paper bag, scribbling Maya in her looping script, only to realize the kitchen was suddenly quiet. Maya stood in the doorway, backpack sagging from one shoulder, her brow furrowed. Mom, I can't find my lunch. Did I leave it in the car? Maya's voice had that familiar edge of panic. Lena's mind flickered through her morning checklist. She'd packed the lunch but left it on the counter near the fruit bowl, now hidden by a pile of unopened mail. It's right here, honey, Lena said, producing the bag with a small, apologetic smile. Maya exhaled, relief softening her features. Thanks, Mom. Sorry, I have that science quiz today. My brain's all scrambled. You'll do great, Lena replied, squeezing Maya's shoulder. Just remember to breathe. Maya managed a fleeting smile and hurried out the door, boots squeaking against the tile. Eric, meanwhile, was crouched in the living room, digging through his backpack for a lost Lego piece. Mom, do you know where my blue car is? The tiny one? Lena knelt beside him, her knees creaking. Let's check under the sofa, she said, sweeping her hand into the dust-shadowed gap. Her fingers closed around cool plastic. Triumphantly, she held up the miniature car, and Eric's face lit up. You're the best, Mom, he declared, already dashing toward the hallway. The front door slammed, and Lena glanced at the clock again. 8 a.m. She was already behind. The phone vibrated insistently on the counter. Aunt Dolores. Lena hesitated, then answered. Lena, dear. Dolores's voice filled the kitchen, brisk and a touch imperious. I know it's early, but my doctor's appointment got moved up. Would you mind driving me? And afterward, could we stop by the pharmacy? I'm nearly out of that ointment. Lena's gaze drifted to the corner of the kitchen, where a small pink box, her own birthday cake, hastily purchased the night before, sat unopened. Of course, Aunt Dolores. I'll be there in half an hour, she replied, forcing warmth into her voice. Thank you, darling. I don't know what I'd do without you. Lena ended the call, her smile fading as she surveyed the day ahead. She could already feel her plans for a quiet hour. Just a cup of tea, a slice of her favorite cake, a few pages of an old novel, slipping through her fingers. She scrawled a quick note for Jonas, who had left early for work. Doctor with Dolores, back by lunch. Love you. She paused, considering adding, it's my birthday, but left it unsaid. The morning rain had settled into a steady drizzle by the time Lena pulled up in front of Dolores's house. Dolores, bundled in a floral scarf and clutching her purse, was waiting on the porch. She eased herself into the passenger seat and began recounting her latest neighborly grievances. A leaking sprinkler, a barking dog, the mail carrier's tardiness. Lena nodded, offering reassurances and sympathetic murmurs, her mind drifting to the untouched cake, the quiet kitchen, the simple wishes she'd set aside. At the doctor's office, Dolores's appointment stretched on. Lena scrolled through her phone, ignoring another flurry of birthday texts. Instead, she checked the school calendar for Eric's bake sale, responded to a PTA email, and made a mental note to pick up groceries. By the time Dolores reappeared, prescriptions in hand, Lena's stomach reminded her she'd skipped breakfast. She glanced at her watch, 10:45 a.m. Already, the day was slipping away. Back home, the house felt emptier, quieter. Lena tucked the pharmacy bag under Dolores's arm, accepted a quick, grateful hug, and watched her aunt disappear into her house. She sat in the car for a moment, listening to the gentle patter of rain on the windshield, and allowed herself a single, shaky sigh. The phone buzzed again. This time, Jonas. Hey, sweetheart. Sorry, I just got pulled into a meeting. Could you do me a huge favor and drop off this package at the post office today? It's urgent. Needs to go out by noon. I'll forward the address. Lena cradled the phone, her jaw tightening imperceptibly. Sure, she replied. I'll handle it. As she drove toward the post office, Lena glanced in the rearview mirror, catching her own eyes. A brief, honest moment of exhaustion. The city's edges blurred by rain, storefronts and traffic lights flickering past. She thought of the cake, growing stale on the counter, of the book she'd longed to start, of the small, bright moments she'd promised herself. The post office was crowded, fluorescent lights humming overhead. Lena waited in line, shifting from foot to foot, scrolling through a group chat of old college friends. They were planning a birthday brunch, laughter and inside jokes filling her screen. She typed, "Maybe next year, guys. Hope you have fun," and tucked her phone away before she could second-guess herself. By the time she returned home, the rain had stopped, but the sky remained the color of old pewter. Lena moved through the rooms, straightening pillows, folding laundry, wiping crumbs from the table. She opened the fridge, catching sight of the cake, its frosting a little smudged, the plastic cover fogged with condensation. She hesitated, knife in hand, before the phone rang again. "Mom, can you bring my art project to school? I left it on the dining room table," Maya pleaded, her voice thin and urgent. "Of course, honey," Lena replied, balancing the project, car keys, and her dwindling patience. The school parking lot was bustling, parents hurrying in and out, umbrellas bobbing like bright mushrooms. Lena spotted Maya through the window, her anxious face lighting up as Lena approached with the forgotten project. "Thanks, Mom. I thought I'd get in trouble for forgetting again." Maya's voice was small, embarrassed. Lena brushed a strand of hair behind Maya's ear. "Everyone forgets sometimes. That's why I'm here." In the car, Lena allowed herself a moment of reflection as she watched parents and children moving through the rain-slick parking lot. She remembered her own mother, always busy, always making sure everyone else was cared for. Lena wondered if her mother had ever felt as invisible as she did now. Returning home, Lena finally made herself a cup of tea, cradling the warm mug between her palms. The house was momentarily quiet. She cut a small slice of cake, the knife sliding through the sugary layers. Before she could take a bite, the phone rang. Again. It was Jonas. "Hey, sorry to bug you again. Eric's teacher just called. He's not feeling great. Can you pick him up early?" For a moment, Lena considered telling Jonas about the cake, the quiet hour she'd tried to steal for herself. But she swallowed the thought, wrapping herself in the familiar comfort of self-sacrifice. "Of course," she said, gathering her coat. In the school office, Eric slumped against her side, his face pale. Lena smoothed his hair, whispering reassurances as they drove home. She made him soup, sat with him while he watched cartoons, and held his hand as he drifted off for a nap. Afternoon light slanted through the living room windows, dust motes dancing in the air. Lena sat on the edge of the sofa, her mind foggy with fatigue. She glanced again at her phone, where birthday wishes had accumulated like unopened gifts. She responded with polite emojis and "thank you," never mentioning how the day had truly unfolded. Jonas texted, "Running late. Can you start dinner?" "I'll pick up Maya from her club." Lena moved through the kitchen on autopilot, chopping vegetables, stirring sauce, setting the table. She considered lighting a candle for herself, just a small gesture, but left it unlit. Through the window, she saw the family car pull into the driveway. Maya burst through the door, chatting about her club meeting. Jonas followed, phone to his ear, smiling apologetically. Dinner was lively, the table crowded with conversation. No one mentioned her birthday, and Lena smiled through it, asking about Maya's art project, listening to Eric's retelling of a cartoon episode. After dinner, Lena cleared the dishes, her reflection wavering in the darkened window. She opened the fridge, her eyes landing on the cake, still untouched, its edges now dry. She closed the door softly, pressing her forehead against the cool metal, her breath fogging the surface. In the hush of the kitchen, the weight of the day pressed in. Lena's shoulders slumped, fatigue settling deep in her bones. She felt invisible, a ghost in her own home, her birthday reduced to a silent footnote in the margins of everyone else's busy lives. She stood there for a long moment, listening to the laughter drifting in from the living room, the hum of the dishwasher, the distant patter of rain. If you've ever put everyone else's happiness before your own, if you've ever watched your own special day slip quietly by, don't worry, you're not alone. Tap subscribe to follow Lena's journey and see what happens next. The sky had faded to a dull metallic blue by late afternoon, but inside the Whitlock home, the air was thick with the relentless momentum of the day. Lena's feet ached as she moved from one room to another, her breath short, her mind tight with lists and obligations. The untouched birthday cake still sat in the fridge, its pink frosting peeking through the glass, but Lena barely glanced at it as she unpacked groceries with one hand and answered Aunt Dolores's phone call with the other. "Lena, sweetheart, you'll remember to pick up my prescription? And oh, could you stop by the post office? They're holding a package for me. Don't let them send it back." Aunt Dolores's voice was brisk, expectant. "Of course, Aunt Dolores," Lena replied, her voice steady, betraying nothing. "I'll fit it in after soccer pickup." She ended the call and placed her hand on the counter, letting her shoulders drop for a brief second before Maya's voice echoed down the hall. "Mom! I can't find my sketchbook and the school's calling about the bake sale money. Did you send it? And Eric wants help with his cleats." Lena's reply caught in her throat, but she forced a gentle, "I'm on it, honey," and hurried to the living room, still in her flour-dusted apron. For a moment, she glimpsed her reflection in the hallway mirror, hair hastily pinned, worry lines deepening above her brows, eyes searching for something, maybe a spark of herself, something she'd left behind at sunrise. The pace sharpened as the afternoon wore on. Jonas called from work, his tone distracted. Lena? Delivery mix-up at the store. Could you run by and sort it out? I know it's a lot. Thanks, babe. He hung up before Lena could answer. She pressed a hand to her temple, feeling the familiar ache of being needed and unseen. She checked the time. 4:48 p.m. Soccer pickup. Her mind leapt from task to task, but as she dashed through the kitchen, the timer on the oven blared. She pulled out a tray of cupcakes for Eric's bake sale, burned her wrist, hissed under her breath, then reached for her keys. The world seemed to press in, demanding, constant, and Lena moved through it on muscle memory alone. The phone buzzed again. Mom, practice is over. Where are you? Eric's voice, small and uncertain, cut through her composure. Lena's heart dropped. She'd forgotten. She'd never, not once, forgotten. She snatched her purse and bolted for the door, panic rising in her chest. As she drove, the rain started in earnest, fat drops blurring the windshield. By the time she reached the soccer field, Eric was sitting alone on the metal bleachers, his neon bag at his feet, his face red from the cold and from holding back tears. Sorry, buddy, Lena whispered, wrapping him in her arms. I'm so sorry. It's been one of those days. Eric sniffled, rubbing his eyes. It's okay, Mom. I just wanted you to come. She squeezed him tight, guilt settling heavy in her chest. Back at home, the mood was brittle. Jonas met them at the door, his brow furrowed. What happened? Eric was waiting almost 30 minutes. Lena opened her mouth, but the words caught. I lost track of time. I'm sorry. Jonas's frustration flickered across his face. You always handle everything, Lena. What happened today? She bit her lip, the pressure behind her eyes threatening to spill over. Just too many things at once. Dinner was a quiet affair. The kitchen, usually a bustle of laughter and clinking cutlery, seemed hollow. Maya picked at her pasta, eyes darting between her mother and father. Aunt Dolores, perched at the end of the table, launched into a story about her neighbor's noisy dog, but her words faded into the background. After dinner, Lena lingered at the sink, scrubbing plates long after they were clean. The rhythm of the water, the scrape of ceramic, it was something to hold on to, something steady. She watched her family drift into the living room, the TV flickering shadows on the walls. Maya hovered in the doorway. Mom, are you okay? You look tired. Lena forced a smile, but her voice was thin. Just a long day, honey. Go relax, I'll finish up. Maya hesitated, wanting to help, but sensing her mother's need for solitude, she retreated. Aunt Dolores shuffled in, pausing at Lena's side. You know, Lena, everyone here is so lucky to have you. I don't know what we'd do without you. Her words were kind, but they landed heavy, another reminder of the invisible weight Lena carried. Lena nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Later, as the house settled into a hush, Lena finally sat at the kitchen table. The clock read 10:47 p.m. She reached into the fridge and pulled out the birthday cake, its frosting now dulled, the candle she'd bought for herself tucked beside it. She placed a single candle in the center, lit it, and watched the flame flicker in the dim light. Jonas entered quietly, his footsteps soft. He paused in the doorway, taking in the scene. Lena, alone, the cake untouched, the candle burning low. He sat across from her, guilt etched deep in his features. Lena, I just realized today was your birthday. She didn't look up. It's okay. You were busy. Everyone was. He shook his head, voice cracking. No, it's not okay. We all forgot. How did I not see it? Lena finally met his eyes, hers brimming with unshed tears. Because I made sure you didn't have to. I took care of everything. I always do. I thought, if I kept everyone happy, maybe it would be enough. There was a long, aching silence. Maya and Eric, drawn by the quiet voices, appeared in the hallway. Maya's eyes widened as she saw the cake. Mom, it's your birthday? You didn't tell us. Eric's face crumpled, shame and sadness mingling. We didn't even sing for you. Jonas reached for Lena's hand, his own trembling. Why didn't you say something? Lena's voice was barely above a whisper. Because I thought if I just kept going, if I didn't ask for anything, no one would be disappointed. I didn't want to add one more thing to your plates, so I skipped it. I skipped my own birthday so everyone else could have a good day. The words settled over the table, heavy and undeniable. For the first time, her family saw the cost of her kindness, the way she'd folded herself into the background, erasing her own needs for theirs. Jonas's eyes filled with tears. I'm so sorry, Lena. I should have noticed. We all should have. Maya slid into her mother's lap, hugging her tight. You make every day special for us. We should have made this one special for you. Eric climbed up beside them, pressing his cheek to Lena's shoulder. Happy birthday, Mom. I love you. Aunt Dolores appeared in the doorway, her eyes wide with realization. Oh, darling, I had no idea. You do so much for all of us. I'm sorry I never thought to ask what you needed. Lena, surrounded at last by her family's warmth and apologies, let herself cry freely. Tears of sadness, yes, but also relief. Relief that finally someone had seen her. Jonas squeezed her hand. We're going to make this right, starting now. They sat together in the soft kitchen light, the candle burning low, the cake finally shared. The air was heavy with regret, but also with the first sweet promise of change. For the first time all day, Lena felt seen. And as the flame flickered, she closed her eyes and made a silent wish, not for herself alone, but for the strength to ask for what she needed, and for her family to remember, always, that she was there. The morning after Lena's confession, the air in the Whitlock home held a new, delicate quiet. Sunlight painted soft stripes across the table where Lena sat, hands wrapped around a steaming mug. The house, off in a flurry of movement by now, felt paused, like everyone was holding their breath, letting the weight of the night before settle in. Lena watched dust motes spin in the early light, her mind drifting between relief and uncertainty. She had never spoken her truth so plainly, not to Jonas, not to anyone. The vulnerability had left her feeling exposed, but strangely lighter, like she'd set down a suitcase she'd carried for years, without realizing how heavy it had become. She heard footsteps padding down the hallway. Maya entered first, hair still wild from sleep, followed by Eric, clutching his favorite stuffed bear. Jonas trailed behind, a little hesitant, his usual morning briskness softened by something gentler. "Morning, Mom," Eric said, sidling up for a hug. Lena squeezed him, pressing her cheek to his soft hair. Maya hesitated, then slid into the chair beside Lena. We have something for you." Her voice was small, but determined. Jonas set a small box on the table, his eyes searching Lena's face. "We know it's not much," he began, "but we wanted to start making it right. Not just today, but from now on." Lena's eyebrows rose in surprise. She opened the box to find a stack of handmade coupons, each one decorated in colorful marker. One night off from dishes, family movie night of your choice, breakfast in bed, a whole day just for Mom, no chores allowed. Some were scribbled in Eric's blocky handwriting, others detailed with Maya's careful doodles. Jonas had contributed too. His coupon for date night planned by me was written in his neat script, a shy, smiley face at the end. Lena's throat tightened. She pressed a hand to her heart, feeling the warmth radiate outward. Aunt Dolores, summoned by the commotion, appeared in the doorway. "Well, look at you all," she said, her tone gruff but her eyes softening. "About time this family remembered who keeps the wheels turning." She gave Lena a rare, quick wink. Jonas knelt by Lena's chair. "We've been so caught up in our own worlds we forgot yours. I'm sorry, Lena. You deserved so much more. Yesterday and every day." Maya reached for Lena's hand. "Can we do something? For real this time? Just for you?" Lena looked at her family. Jonas, earnest and remorseful. Maya, anxious to fix what she'd missed. Eric, eager to please. Even Dolores, trying in her own brusque way. The ache Lena had carried began to ebb, replaced by the tentative hope that things could be different. She smiled, a real unguarded smile that reached her eyes. "You know what would make me happiest? If we could just spend the day together. No chores, no rushing, just us." Jonas grinned, relief flooding his features. "Deal. But first, we have some unfinished business." He disappeared into the kitchen, returning with the little cake Lena had bought for herself, now crowned with a single candle. The family gathered around, voices hushed. Maya struck a match and lit the wick, the flame flickering in the early sunlight. "Happy birthday, Mom," Eric whispered. Jonas rested a hand on her shoulder. "Make a wish. And this time, wish for yourself." Lena closed her eyes. She inhaled deeply, letting the scent of vanilla and wax mingle with the hum of her family's presence. When she blew out the candle, it felt like more than a birthday ritual. It felt like a promise kept, to herself and to them. They sliced the cake, laughter filling the kitchen. Dolores recounted stories from Lena's childhood. Maya shared a new drawing she'd made for her mom. Eric insisted on feeding Lena the first bite. Jonas cleared away the plates without being asked. For the first time in a long while, Lena felt seen, not just as the caretaker, the organizer, the fixer, but as Lena, worthy of celebration, rest, and joy. As the afternoon sun slanted through the windows, Lena and Jonas sat together on the back porch. The yard was alive with the sounds of Maya and Eric inventing a new game, Dolores cheering from her lawn chair. Jonas took Lena's hand, squeezing gently. I didn't realize how much you were caring until you said it out loud. I promise. We'll do better. You shouldn't have to remind us to see you. Lena leaned her head on his shoulder. It's not just about birthdays. I want to be part of this family, not the glue that keeps it together while everyone else lives their lives. I want us to share the load and the joy. Jonas nodded, his eyes shining. Deal. Starting today. Inside, Maya taped one of her coupons to the fridge. A whole day just for Mom. Underneath, she wrote in bold letters, "Let's not forget again." Lena's phone buzzed. A message from an old friend. "Happy belated birthday. Hope your family spoiled you." Lena smiled and replied, "They're learning, and so am I." That night, after the kids had gone to bed and Dolores retired with her mystery novel, Lena sat at the kitchen table. The candle from her cake stood melted and spent, but Lena felt renewed. She pulled out a small notebook and wrote in bold, hopeful letters, "Today I chose myself, and my family chose me too." She looked around the quiet kitchen, feeling the lingering warmth of the day. For the first time in years, Lena wasn't waiting for someone else to notice her. She had found her voice, and more importantly, she had used it. As she closed her notebook, Lena thought about everyone watching her story unfold. So many people, she knew, carried burdens quietly, believing their happiness could wait. She wanted to reach through the screen, to remind them, your needs matter, your joy matters. If you've ever felt invisible, if you've ever put everyone else's happiness before your own, Lena's story is your story too. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is speak up, not just for others, but for yourself. What about you? Have you ever skipped your own special moment just to keep the peace or make others happy? Share your story in the comments. Let's support each other in putting ourselves back on the list. If Lena's journey resonated with you, give this video a like so more people can find it. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. There are more real-life stories and hopeful moments ahead, and I'd love to have you with us for everyone. Because sometimes, the most powerful confession is the one that sets you free. Thank you for watching.